School head is responsible for effective general management of the school, for ensuring the provision of academic leadership and strategic vision, and for the quality of student experience. Have a blessed and wonderful day, everyone, especially to our professor, Mrs. Carla Joy Palares. This is Rainier Fernandez Peña, BS Ed 2 student, a passionate and dedicated future educator someday. So at this point, I will be discussing the roles and competencies of school heads, and of course, the national competency-based standards for school heads, and the competency framework for Southeast Asian school heads. But before we proceed to the discussion of important topics in this lesson, we define first the important terminologies. First, we have the role. When we talk about a role, it is a function, assumed or part played by a person or thing in particular situation. Meaning to say, this is one of the important function or part of a person in a particular situation, in a particular event, no? And of course, in managing, especially in the role of school heads in school management and leadership. Next is the competencies. This is the ability to do something successfully and efficiently. Meaning to say, competencies are the ability and capability of a person to do something successful, no, and efficient, no, and this is a kind of ability that a person are competent in doing such things. Next is the school head. This is the staff member of school with the greatest responsibility for management of the school. Meaning to say, school heads are those with the greatest or the highest position in a school. They are responsible in managing and improving, no, the school, and of course they are considered as the principals with the highest position. As stipulated in Chapter 1, Section 5, Letter E of Republic Act 9155, the school heads is an administrative and an instructional leader. So now we differentiate the instructional leader and administrative leader. When we talk about instructional leaders, he or she supervises instructions, while administrative leaders are concerned for physical improvement and fund sourcing. So the difference between instructional leaders and administrative leaders are instructional. From the word instructional, they are the one who are responsible for instructions of, and so they are the one who are supervises instructions of school. While administrative leaders are concerned for the physical improvement and fund sourcing. They are capable of doing school improvements, just like the rebuilding of comfort rooms, painting of classrooms, and etc. Competencies for school heads, or the National Competency-Based Standards for School Heads, the NCBSSH. In the list of competency expected of school heads, there are competencies for both instructional leadership and administrative leadership. Let's take a look at the competencies expected of school heads as contained in the National Competency-Based Standards for School Heads, issued in Depth Order 32, Series of 2010 on April 16, 2010. What is NCBSSH, or the National Competency-Based Standards for School Heads? Depth Order 32 Series of 2010 defines as list of of competency standards which can be used as basis for school heads' decision-making, actions, and performance of their functions. Another thing is that is used as basis for the preparation of comprehensive training and development based on expected tasks that will be utilized to deliver training programs to ensure efficiency, effectiveness, and excellence of school head job performance. This is the core principle. School heads are competent, committed, and accountable in providing access to quality and relevant education for all through transformational leadership and high degree of professionalism. The National Competency-Based Standards for School Heads, Domains and Competency Strands. The Domain 1, or the school leadership, which have the competency strands of developing and communicating vision, mission, goals, and objectives. Database strategic planning. Problem solving. Building high-performance teams. Coordinating with others. And leading and managing change. The Domain 2, which is the instructional leadership, which have competency strand of assessment for learning, developing programs or adapting existing programs, implementing programs for instructional improvement, and lastly, instructional supervision. Next is the Domain 3, or creating a student-centered learning climate, which have a competency strand of setting high social and academic expectations, creating school environments focused on the needs of the learner. The Domain 4, or HR management and professional development, under its competency strands, creating a professional learning community, recruitment and hiring, managing performance of teachers and staff. Next is the Domain 5, or the parent involvement and community partnership, under its competency strands of parental involvement, external community partnership. The Domain 6, or school management and operations, under its competency strand, managing school operations, fiscal management, use of technology in the management of operations. And last but not the least, the Domain 7, the personal and professional attributes and interpersonal effectiveness, which includes its competency strands, professionalism, communication, interpersonal sensitivity, fairness, honesty, and integrity. When we talk about competency framework, it is a means by which organizations communicate which behaviors are required, valued, recognized, and rewarded with respect to specific occupational roles. Another thing is that it ensures that staffs, in general, have a common understanding of the organization's values and expected excellent performance behaviors. The competency framework for Southeast Asian school heads as of 2014. The domain stakeholder engagement, which has the competencies and enabling competencies. The stakeholder engagement, promoting shared responsibility for school improvement, which have enabling competency of build trust and lead teams, communities for school improvement. Empower the community to work for enhancement of school performance. Number 2, stakeholder engagement, managing educations, alliances, and networks, which enabling competencies are communicate effectively with different stakeholders, facilitate school community partnerships and activities, promote consensus building, manage conflict and practice negotiation skills, Number 3. Stakeholder engagement, sustaining collaborative relationship with stakeholders, which have enabling competency of support community-based programs and projects, and communicate school performance report to stakeholders. Next domain is managerial leadership. Number 1. Managerial leadership managing school resources and system, which have enabling competencies of manage financial resources, manage learning environments, manage systems and procedures. Number 2. Managerial leadership managing staff performance, which have enabling competencies of manage school personnel requirements, support professional development of staff, recognize staff performance. Number 3. Managerial leadership managing sustainable, which have enabling competencies of demonstrate programs and management skills, and promote school-based programs and projects that supports sustainable development. Next domain is instructional leadership, which have the competencies. Instructional leadership leading curriculum implementation and improvement, which have the enabling competencies of manage curriculum implementation, promote sensitivity. Number 3. Instructional leadership creating a learner-centered environment, which have enabling competencies of promote learner-centered activities, promote a healthy, safe, and inclusive learning environment, promote a culture of peace and respect for diversity. Number 3. Instructional leadership supervising and evaluating teachers' performance, which have enabling competencies, apply appropriate models for supervision, nurture teachers' leaders. Number 4. Instructional leadership delivering plan learning outcomes, which have enabling competencies of promote team-based approaches to instructional leadership, management assessment to improve teaching and learning. Next domain is personal excellence, which has the competencies of personal excellence managing personal effectiveness, which have enabling competencies of lead by example, demonstrate transparency and accountability, practice a balanced healthy lifestyle, take pride in one's profession, and deliver results. Number 2. Personal excellence acting on challenges and possibilities, which have enabling competencies of manage priorities, exhibit decisiveness in addressing challenges, exhibit an enterprising attitude. Number 3. Personal excellence pursuing continuous professional development, which have enabling competencies of take responsibility for lifelong learning, advocate ASEAN values and perspectives. Lastly, the domain 5, which is the strategic thinking and innovation. Number 1. Competency. Strategic thinking and innovation charting the strategic direction of the school, which have the enabling competencies of work with the school community, stakeholders in developing the strategic plan, lead in the implementation of strategic plan, demonstrate the vision and model the values in everyday work and practice. Number 2 is strategic thinking and innovation, making informed decisions, which have enabling competencies of use a range of evidence to support, monitor, evaluate, and improve the strategic plan, practice regular review of plan, program implementation, and utilize the results in addressing implementation concerns and issues. Number 3, strategic thinking and innovation, leading change and innovation, which have the enabling competencies of lead the change process toward the development and implementation of new approaches, system, and structures. Sustain creativity and innovation in the school programs to achieve higher learning outcomes. Instructional leadership. The domain on instructional leadership encompasses 4 competencies. Number 1, leading curriculum implementation and improvement. Number 2, creating a learner-centered environment. Number 3, supervising and evaluating teachers' performance. And number 4, delivering planned learn outcomes.
So, good day. I am Brian Filmata from Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in English. So, my topic is all about administrative leadership and school head and the community. So, administrative leadership is about orchestrating tasks and often includes mobilizing people to develop and sustain an early childhood organization. So, successful administrative leaders are able to establish systems that protect and sustain essential operational functions to meet the needs of children and families. So, there are at least 2 important aspects of administrative leadership. So, first is operational leadership and strategic leadership. So, operational leadership is accomplished through activities like hiring and supporting staff, overseeing budgets, and maintaining a positive workplace climate. So, strategic leadership involves guiding the direction of an early childhood organization with the future in mind. So, school head and the community. School head and the community. The strands are as follows. Involves internal and external stakeholders in formulating and achieving school vision, mission, goals, and objectives. Explains the school visions to the general public. Aligns the school improvement plan or annual improvement plan with national, regional, and local education policies and thrust. Communicates effectively SIP or AIP to internal and external stakeholders. Involves stakeholders in meetings and deliberation for decision making. Provides feedback and updates to stakeholders on the status or progress and condition of programs and projects. Creates and manages the school processes to ensure student progress is conveyed to students and parents or guardians regularly. Recognizes high-performing learners and teachers and supportive parents and other stakeholders. Prepares financial reports and submits or communicates the same to higher education authorities and other education partners. Maintains harmonious and pleasant personal and official relations with superiors, colleges, subordinates, learners, parents, and other stakeholders. Listen to stakeholders' needs and concerns and responds appropriately in consideration of the political, social, legal, and cultural context. So, in the Southeast Asian Competency Framework, the following competencies strengthen school and community partnership. Number 1, promoting shared responsibility for school improvement. Number 2, managing education alliances and networks. And number 3, sustaining collaborative relationships with stakeholders. And that's all. Thank you.
And that's all about the roles and competencies of school heads. Thank you for listening and giving your time. I hope you learn and gain knowledge out of this. If you have questions, queries, clarification, and addition, don't hesitate to comment on the comment section. Once again, have a blessed day and thank you so much.